After calming down the excitement caused by the burning spell's evolution, Xiao Yan closed his eyes once again and performed a finger skill with both hands. This time, because the burning spell was a mid-grade sovereign rank cultivation technique, the speed at which Xiao Yan absorbed the Origin Monarch Chi was several times faster than before. Very quickly, the Origin Monarch Chis around the small cave surged into the cave, causing the huge rocks in front of the cave to crack open. A large number of Origin Monarch Chis were purified by the purifying demonic lotus flame and entered Xiao Yan's body. Under the control of Xiao Yan's mind, all of the Origin Monarch Chis entered a small ball of golden red light in his dantian. This small ball of light was the Origin Monarch crystal formed by the Origin Monarch Chi formed by all the combat Chi when it passed through the Emperor Transformation Gate. A large amount of pure Origin Monarch Chis poured into the Origin Monarch crystal. The Origin Monarch crystal quickly increased at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye. As the Origin Monarch crystal increased, it also released waves of refined Origin Monarch Chis that poured into Xiao Yan's meridians and bone marrow, strengthening his body. After several decades, Xiao Yan once again felt the pleasure of his strength increasing. About half a day later, the Xiao Yans that entered Xiao Yan's body began to slow down. On the other hand, Xiao Yan. At this moment, his skin was golden red, and the veins on his arms were bulging. The energy that was released in his breath caused dust to fall from the mountain wall not far away. Xiao Yan's chi was also rising and falling. This was a sign that he was about to break through. Ha! Xiao Yan gritted his teeth, and his aura suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, his aura, which was much stronger than before, burst out. The walls on both sides were hit by a strong impact, and broken stones kept falling down. After a while, the powerful chi gradually dissipated. Xiao Yan opened his eyes at the same time. In his pitch-black eyes, a golden red light flashed. Xiao Yan moved his body, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard without an end. He stood up, and felt the surging Origin Monarch Chi in his body. He said with a smile on his face, "As expected, my 10 years of stay in the Fighting Chi continent was not in vain. At the very least, I have made the foundation of the Fighting Monarch extremely stable. Next time, I will advance from a 2-star Do Sovereign to an early 3-star Do Sovereign. This is also within my expectations." After lamenting for a while, Xiao Yan took out a red scroll from his interspatial storage ring. It was the elementary monarch art given to him by an elder of the Yunluo Academy. After playing with it for a while, Xiao Yan let out a sigh of relief. His strength wouldn't improve much in a short period of time, so he could only cultivate monarch arts to make himself stronger. He tore open the red scroll. The scroll was filled with tiny words, which were moving on the scroll like dragons and snakes. At the top of the scroll, there were 3 big red words, "Flame Dragon's Rush." Xiao Yan was about to read the content when he saw a line of small words attached to the side of the big red words. Those who practice this monarch art must have strength above the 5-star Fighting Monarch. Xiao Yan's face darkened, and he almost cursed out loud. Only those with 5 stars of Fighting Monarch and above could cultivate it. Although this was also the reason for the Holy Rank trial, it was still a little too ruthless. 5-star Fighting Monarchs were not something that could be created just like that. Could it be that he had to rely on the few TN-class Do techniques that he had grasped to make his way here? Although all the Do Chi in his body had been converted into Origin Monarch Chis, the power of the TN-class Do techniques should have increased by quite a bit. However, it was still much weaker compared to any primary monarch art. It was even more impossible to use it to deal with those powerful spirit beasts. Frowning, Xiao Yan pondered for a moment. Then, with a flip of his palm, a jade pearl filled with dense jade pearls appeared in his hand. This was the jade pearl that he had obtained when he killed 9 Nether Monarch's bug. However, all the combat chi within it had turned into jade pearls when it passed through the transforming Emperor Gate. 9 Nether Monarch's bug had existed in that mysterious spatial passageway for an unknown number of years. However, he was able to become a 3-star Do D in that place. Moreover, he had fought with ancient monarch Tuo Shi after becoming a fighting monarch. He must have experienced at least 10,000 years. In such a long period of time, he had encountered no less than 10 fighting chi continents that had advanced from the fighting chi continent. Even if some of the fighting monarchs had escaped, the combat power that 9 Nether Monarch's bug had obtained over the years was shocking enough. However, he could only absorb a small portion. He did not have the ability to absorb most of the combat power. This combat power condensed into a jade pearl in 9 Nether Monarch's bug's body. After Xiao Yan obtained this jade pearl, it passed through the Emperor Transformation Gate. The majestic Do Chi within it also transformed into an Origin Monarch Chi. As he sensed the rich jade pearls contained within the jade pearl, Xiao Yan muttered to himself, "Senior fighting monarch of the Fighting Chi continent, 9 Nether Monarch's bug has already fallen. Xiao Yan will help you take revenge for your deaths." As soon as he finished speaking, a faintly discernible resentment of the Emperor spread out from the jade pearl and disappeared. Xiao Yan felt the Emperor's grudge dissipating in the air and mumbled, "After many years of bitter cultivation, I finally became a sovereign. I didn't expect that I would die on my way to the great world. I'm sure the seniors' hearts must be filled with endless hatred." Sighing, Xiao Yan sat cross-legged again. He placed the jade pearl in front of him and once again entered into a state of cultivation. Not long after, the jade pearl seemed to be summoned and started spinning rapidly. Every time it spun, a visible Origin Monarch Chi would separate from it and enter Xiao Yan's body. As the Origin Monarch Chis in the jade pearl were extremely pure, Xiao Yan did not need to use the purifying demonic lotus flame to purify them before he placed all of them into Xiao Yan's Origin Monarch crystal. Very quickly, Xiao Yan's aura began to slowly increase. Mid 3-star Do D. Late 3-star Do D. In the end, Xiao Yan was directly enveloped by the dense Origin Monarch Chi. Xiao Yan's aura was also rising like a rocket. His powerful aura caused the mountain walls on both sides to crack open, forming countless spiderweb-like cracks. On the mountain wall above Xiao Yan's head, countless sharp stones kept falling down. However, Xiao Yan sat still like an old monk, allowing the sharp stones to hit his body. Mid 4-star Do D. Late 4-star Do D. When Xiao Yan's aura reached its peak once again, powerful air currents shot out from his body once again, blasting towards his surroundings. The huge rock at the cave entrance could no longer withstand it. With a loud bang, it exploded, waking Xiao Yan, who was intoxicated by the rapid growth of his strength. Oh no! He has already reached the middle stage of the 5-star fighting monarch. He doesn't dare to continue growing. Otherwise, the gains won't make up for the losses. Xiao Yan shouted out loudly. The speed at which he absorbed the Origin Monarch Chi immediately slowed down. After a moment, the jade pearl that had shrunk by nearly half stopped spinning and fell into Xiao Yan's hand. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. I have still reached the late stage of the 5-star fighting monarch. Luckily, I have not advanced to the 6th star of the combat emperor realm. Otherwise, I don't know how long it would take to condense the Origin Monarch Chi in my body. In the next 2 days, Xiao Yan wandered around the area. However, he didn't encounter a single spirit beast. This made Xiao Yan both happy and anxious. The happiest thing was that he did not encounter any spirit beast before he started cultivating monarch arts. The most urgent thing was that he needed to spend more time to solidify the Origin Monarch Chi in his body. After all, battles could allow him to familiarize himself with the energy in his body faster. Xiao Yan had also tried to refine medicine pills before. However, he gave up after thinking for a moment. He did not even know the basic method of refining medicine pills in this large world, nor did he know the medicine pill formula. It was simply impossible for him to refine medicine pills. Even so, Xiao Yan discovered many medicinal herbs that could refine a 9th-grade golden pill in the forest. With Xiao Yan's current strength, refining a 9th-grade golden pill was effortless. After destroying countless medicinal herbs, Xiao Yan finally figured out the refining method and formula for a medicine pill. In these few days, Xiao Yan had refined over 20 Qi recovery pills. The Qi recovery pill was the medicine pill that Xiao Yan had successfully refined by chance. It could slightly speed up the recovery time of the Origin Monarch Chi. After 2 days of refining Xiao Yan's, the Origin Monarch Chi within Xiao Yan's body had finally solidified. Next, it was time to cultivate the Flame Dragon Charge. On top of a boulder, a young man in a black shirt was sitting quietly with a red scroll in his hand. The words on the scroll were engraved in his mind. Flame Dragon Charge, Elementary Fire Attribute Monarch Level Cultivation Technique. Concentrate the Origin Monarch Chi on the meridians in both arms and connect with the mind, activating it. When mastered, it can become a 9-foot 9-inch flame dragon. When the flame dragon roars, not even a blade of grass can survive. After a few short introductions, there were the mental cultivation method and cultivation matters. Xiao Yan wrapped his soul energy around the scroll and quickly read through all the words in detail. According to the scroll, Xiao Yan circulated the Origin Monarch Chi in his body to gather at the meridians in his arms. The Origin Monarch Chi followed the meridians that the flame dragon charge passed through and slowly moved to his palm. When it was almost there, Xiao Yan's hands accidentally shook, and the Origin Monarch Chi that was moving forward immediately disappeared, wandering back and forth in his body. Xiao Yan frowned slightly, then once again condensed the Origin Monarch Chi in his body and rushed towards his palm along the meridians. After failing 5 times in a row, Xiao Yan finally succeeded in condensing the Origin Monarch Chi in his hands. Very quickly, Xiao Yan's palm turned slightly red. Xiao Yan was not surprised, but happy. With a thought, more Origin Monarch Chis in his body began circulating rapidly around his meridians. After about a minute, 2 small flames that were a few inches long suddenly appeared on Xiao Yan's palms. The small flames were like fire snakes that were slowly swaying. Xiao Yan looked at the 2 fire snakes that were not even as long as his fingers and smiled bitterly. The Origin Monarch Chi in his body dispersed, and the 2 small fire snakes immediately turned into green smoke. Xiao Yan looked at the slowly dissipating green smoke and let out a light sigh. He closed his eyes and once again thought about the cultivation method in the scroll. After a while, Xiao Yan opened his eyes. 2 fire snakes about 3 meters long appeared in his palm. Although the shape of the fire snakes was still a little blurry, however, there was already a trace of ferociousness in them. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Xiao Yan dispersed the 2 flaming snakes. He could feel that his body was still filled with Origin Monarch Chis. He muttered to himself, the scroll says that it requires 5-star fighting monarchs and above to be able to cultivate. It does make some sense. There are no vigorous Origin Monarch Chis. I really can't withstand such torment. Time passed in a flash. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Yan had been in the vicinity for nearly half a month. Xiao Yan was already able to control his own sudden increase in strength. The biggest gain was the cultivation of Flame Dragon Charge. Xiao Yan had been practicing non-stop for the past few days. Although the current Flame Dragon Rush had not reached the 99-inch large success stage, however, it had still reached the 60-foot mastery stage, so its power had naturally increased by quite a bit. In an open space, Xiao Yan was waving 2 fire dragons that were about 150 to 60 meters long in his hands. The fire dragons moved along with the wind, and one could vaguely hear the sound of a dragon's roar. Xiao Yan waved his hands lightly. The 2 fire dragons were like arrows released from a bow, turning into 2 majestic fire pillars. They struck a huge tree not far in front of him, and with a loud bang, the thick and large tree made a loud noise before crashing to the ground. The center of the huge tree was completely destroyed by the 2 fire dragons. Not bad, it is indeed much stronger than a Tien-class Do technique. Xiao Yan looked at the giant tree that had fallen and clicked his tongue as he nodded. Thinking back to the time when he slapped down with his yellow fist, this palm, which was sufficient to kill any Do Sheng in the lower realm, had only caused a large tree that was not much thicker than his thigh to shake a few times. From this, one could tell the difference between a Do technique and a Monarch art. Moreover, there was the Monarch spell above the Monarch art. The Monarch arts was an even stronger Monarch skill. Swish! 2 more fire dragons appeared in Xiao Yan's hands. As Xiao Yan controlled them with his mind, the huge fire dragon's body began to shrink rapidly. It only stopped when it turned into 2 fire snakes. Xiao Yan's eyes were fixed on the 2 fire snakes on his hands. He calmed his heart and slowly put his hands together. When the 2 fire snakes came into contact with each other, a slight cracking sound was heard from Xiao Yan's palms. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth, and his soul power surged out from the top of his head like a tidal wave. It tightly wrapped around his palms, completely controlling the fusion of the 2 fire snakes. However, Xiao Yan only managed to hold on for a moment before the 2 fire snakes in his hands exploded. A huge amount of energy hit Xiao Yan's body, forcing him to take 3 or 4 steps back. There was some charred color on his palms. Flame Dragon Charge did not have a fire dragon in each of his hands to fight an enemy. Instead, it was like fusing with a Buddha Fury Fire Lotus, allowing the two fire dragons to perfectly fuse together and form a fire dragon. This was the true Flame Dragon Charge. It could only be considered to have reached large success when the fire dragon was 9 feet 9 inches long. At that time, its might would definitely be several times stronger than it was now. Taking a light breath, two fire dragons appeared on Xiao Yan's hands once again. With a slight sway, the fire dragons turned into the size of fire snakes. Looking at the two fire snakes swaying in the fire, Xiao Yan said angrily, "I can even fuse with heavenly flames, but I can't even fuse with your spiritual flame." As he spoke, he wrapped his hands with his soul power, controlling every inch of his body in an extremely balanced manner. After that, both of his palms slowly leaned towards each other. After more than 10 failures, Xiao Yan finally touched a delicate balance point between the two fire snakes in an instant. Under Xiao Yan's delighted gaze, a fire dragon about 6 to 7 meters long and 2 to 3 meters thick appeared on his right hand and wrapped around his right arm. Success. The first monarch skill in the big world is considered a small success. Xiao Yan looked forward. Wherever he looked, he was still blocked by layers of forest. The depths of the forest were filled with unknown terror. Holy rank trial, this is the true beginning. Ow! Along with an angry beast roar, a figure flapped his wings and quickly escaped from this region. Behind him, a huge stone bull roared and chased after him. With the slow speed of the stone cow, it naturally wouldn't be able to catch up to Xiao Yan. Seeing that damn human disappear, the stone cow broke a few trees as if it was venting its anger. It roared and walked into the depths of the forest. This old bull, didn't it just take away all the red baby fruits in its nest? It actually chased me for half a day, on a small tree that was over 10 meters tall. Xiao Yan looked at the stone cow that had left and let out a light sigh. As he spoke, Xiao Yan took out a medicinal herb from his interspatial storage ring. To be precise, it was a fruit. At the top of the fruit, there were 2 small red fruits that were very beautiful under the contrast of the 3 green leaves. The branches were about an inch long. Ever since Xiao Yan accidentally found a red infant fruit and knew that some medicine pills refined from it could increase the absorption of origin monarch cheese, he had been searching for it. When Xiao Yan found hundreds of red infant fruits in a cave, he took all of them without hesitation. Just as he finished collecting them, the owner of this cave, a stone bull with the strength of a 7-star doe monarch, had just returned. When it saw this scene, its eyes instantly turned red, and it chased after Xiao Yan for a long time. In the Great World, the fighting monarch was a transition level that belonged to the lower realm and this world. Only those who advanced to the sovereign realm could be considered as cultivators in the Great World. Hence, beasts at the fighting monarch level were still called devil beasts. Only those above the sovereign realm were called spirit beasts. The spirit beasts were 3 levels above the human realm. Above the high-grade spirit beasts were called heavenly beasts. The heavenly beasts were even more powerful than the spirit beasts, and could even speak the human language. The 5 monster cores that Xiao Yan needed to complete the holy rank trial should be called heavenly cores, or more accurately, middle rank heavenly beasts. This was where the energy within the middle rank heavenly beast's body gathered, and it was equal to a human's origin monarch crystal. The middle rank heavenly beast corresponded to the monarch emperor level expert of a human. This kind of powerful expert already possessed the strength to fly into the sky and escape into the earth. When he attacked, the winds and clouds would surge, and it would be extremely fierce. After recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Yan played with the red baby fruit for a while before putting it back into his sodium ring. He got up and said, "It has been more than 2 months since I was teleported to Forest Domain, although I have already advanced to the 6-star doe Emperor realm. But I still have a long way to go from the Star Moon Spirit Domain." As he spoke, he raised his head and looked at the sky through the lush branches and leaves. He muttered to himself, "Xuan or Kai Lin. Are you guys alright? Star Moon Spirit Domain, Yunluo Academy, wow, Kai Sister Lin. You have already broken through to the 4-star Do D realm. So fast." 2 beautiful girls were standing by the window in a beautiful building. A woman with black hair looked at the cold and elegant woman in front of her and laughed. "That's enough, Xuan Er. Don't hit me. Aren't you also a 4-star Do D? Furthermore, I just advanced yesterday. You have already advanced for about 10 days, the cold-looking woman said helplessly. He, it is still all right. But, I wonder how Mr. Xiao Yan is now and how strong he has reached. Xuan frowned slightly and said. When she heard Xiao Yan's name, Kai Lin's eyes also flashed a trace of worry. Then she said, Xuan, don't worry. Xiao Yan is very lucky, so naturally he will be fine. Oh right, where are Uncle Jiyu and Uncle Zhu? Oh, Father and Uncle Zhu both broke through to the 5-star Fighting Monarch 2 days ago. Today, they went to the Monarch Skill Pavilion to search for the Monarch Skill. Kai Lin smiled when she heard that. Uncle Jiyu and Uncle Zhu stayed at the 9-star Do Shen class for thousands of years when they were in the Fighting Qi continent. Now that they have accumulated so much, it is normal. Xuan smiled and said, the day before yesterday, Father and the others said that if it was not for the treatment given by the Academy because of Mr. Xiao Yan, they would definitely not be able to reach the 5-star Fighting Monarch now. Kai Lin also smiled slightly, Xiao Yan, as she said, she looked up at the mysterious sky and mumbled, you must come back safely. The moonlight is as clear as water, sprinkling over this quiet and endless forest. Occasionally, a beast's roar could be heard from the depths of the forest, causing the quiet forest to become even more sinister and terrifying. Xiao Yan sat cross-legged in a cave. Just as he was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly, the moonlight in the sky seemed to be enveloped by dark clouds, and there was no clear glow. The entire forest was covered by a huge black shadow. Xiao Yan's expression changed, and he opened his eyes. He walked out of the cave and looked at the sky. He saw a huge black bird covering the sky. The shadow that fell on the ground made the forest extremely dark. Xiao Yan held his breath and looked at the huge body of the black bird. The wings of the black bird were hundreds of thousands of meters long, and the black feathers were as bright as fine iron. It was as if it was filled with endless power. After half an hour, the black giant bird finally flew over the forest. Xiao Yan's eyes revealed a look of deep shock. Before he could recover, suddenly, hearing the loud cry of the giant bird, Xiao Yan felt as if his head had cracked. He felt as if he was going to explode, but then he let out a soft shout. This caused Xiao Yan's pain to lessen by quite a bit. After that, Xiao Yan heard an old voice coming from the distant sky, Azure ancient profound bird. Our barbarian domain has no ill intentions here. We are only here to test the strength of the younger generation of our family. As he spoke, a 10,000 feet long ship appeared. It was a bronze warship that was emitting an ancient aura. A strange flame appeared in Xiao Yan's eyes as he looked at the bronze warship in the distant sky. There seemed to be a layer of light on the warship that blocked Xiao Yan's vision. Barbarian domain. Are you from the prince's mansion in the barbarian domain? After a while, I am Man Kunan of the northern barbarian king's mansion. The old voice hesitated for a moment and replied immediately. Northern barbarian king's mansion. The giant black bird pondered for a moment. Then, without saying anything, it raised its head and let out a long cry. Then, it spread its wings and flapped them a few times. Then, it disappeared. The bronze warship, Old Tien, seemed to have exhaled a breath of air. After which, the bronze warship trembled. He once again lost his figure. After the bronze warship disappeared for a long time, Xiao Yan finally came back to his senses. He let out a long breath, and the shock in his eyes gradually dissipated. He mumbled, "This is a true powerhouse. Flame dragon charge." A furious roar was heard, and then a fire dragon about 60 to 70 feet long flew out from Xiao Yan's hand. It hit the huge body of the strong grizzly bear hard. The grizzly bear roared a few times. Its eyes gradually lost their luster, and it fell down unwillingly. Xiao Yan stepped forward. He felt the somewhat dried-up origin monarch qi in his body, and couldn't help but sigh. Although this big guy's strength is at the late 6-star level. But it shouldn't be hard to defeat him, or the skill level is too low. Xiao Yan conveniently threw a qi recovery pill into his mouth. He sped up the recovery of the origin monarch qis. The burning spell had become an intermediate sovereign rank cultivation technique, which was something worth celebrating. However, it was only an intermediate sovereign rank cultivation technique. To Xiao Yan, who had seen the huge black bird and the majestic aura of the old man on the bronze warship last night, this was something worth celebrating. The help of an intermediate sovereign realm cultivation technique to increase one's strength was too weak. He really didn't dare to squander as much as he wanted. In a war, he could only use the fastest time to finish off the enemy. Otherwise, it would be his turn to be unlucky. And this was also what Xiao Yan was most helpless about right now. After recovering all the Origin Monarch cheese, he felt the slightly solidified Origin Monarch cheese. Xiao Yan smiled slightly. At this speed, he estimated that he would be able to break through to middle stage 6-star in another 10 days. Fighting was indeed the best way to quickly increase one's strength. Collecting the earth-shattering bear's monster core, Xiao Yan turned around and ran towards the other side of the forest. Even though the heavenly phoenix wings could still allow him to fly several dozen meters above the ground, however, Xiao Yan also tried his best not to use the heavenly phoenix wings. This was also Xiao Yan's idea. Running was also a type of cultivation method. When he had just crossed a hill, Xiao Yan's expression changed, and then he quickly let out a bitter laugh. Below the hill, at this moment, there was a man fighting with the devil beast. Xiao Yan's eyes swept across this strong man with a gloomy face. He shook his head slightly and said to himself, "Isn't this guy courting death?" However, he was only a 1-star combat emperor. He must have cultivated by himself just like me. Unfortunately, he had just arrived at the forest domain, and he had already encountered a peak 4-star devil beast. This is really unlucky. Xiao Yan just looked at it and did not have any intention of saving him. Now, he could not even take care of himself. Besides, saving a 1-star combat emperor would only bring him trouble. Xiao Yan tried his best not to do it. If nothing unexpected happened, that 1-star combat emperor would do his best. In the midst of his furious roars, he was easily killed by that devil beast with a strength close to 5 stars. When Xiao Yan saw this, he immediately rushed forward. It wasn't to avenge that person, but to obtain that 5-star devil beast's monster core. Just as he was about to clean up the fighting monarch that he had killed, the devil beast saw that another human had arrived. A trace of joy flashed across its eyes, and it howled as it rushed towards Xiao Yan. "Move aside." Xiao Yan waved his hand. A 60 to 70 meter long fire dragon roared out and struck the devil beast's massive body. It knocked the devil beast back by more than 10 meters. Roar! The devil beast let out a furious howl. Its eyes were blood red as it once again crazily charged forward. It's just a tiny 5-star fighting monarch devil beast. Could it be the opposite? Xiao Yan once again used the flame dragon charge, and at this moment, he took out the profound heavy ruler. He ruthlessly slapped down on the devil beast's head. In the next moment, a sound like the shattering of a watermelon was heard. The devil beast's head instantly shattered into pieces. Xiao Yan let out a cold snort, and his left hand was wrapped by the purifying demonic lotus flame. He directly grabbed the devil beast's chest and grabbed it for a moment. A pale yellow monster core was taken out. Xiao Yan faintly smiled. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw an extremely illusory soul float out from the devil beast's head. It was about to escape. Xiao Yan grabbed it with a reflex. The soul screamed and struggled with all its might. He struggled to break free from the purifying demonic lotus flame and let out a miserable cry. Isn't there only a soul in the lower realms that has already transformed into a human devil beast after advancing into the fighting monarch? Why does the devil beast in this great world even have a soul? Xiao Yan stared blankly at the dying soul in the raging flames. He said in astonishment, "The only explanation is that this fellow had once devoured the other fighting monarchs in the lower realm. He had coincidentally fused with his soul," Xiao Yan said as if he was deep in thought. "But, fighting monarch body, monster core. The monarch spirit soul can be used to refine a fighting monarch puppet." Xiao Yan smiled faintly. He placed the dead fighting monarch body into the storage ring, then placed the dying soul into a white jade bottle. He sealed the bottle with a thread of Origin Monarch Chi and smiled. Then, he rushed out of the forest. In the cave, Xiao Yan took out the fighting monarch's body, the white jade bottle that contained the soul, and the monster core of a late 5-star fighting monarch devil beast. A 5-star fighting monarch's devil beast monster core was not the best. Of course, it wasn't the worst either. According to Xiao Yan's thoughts, the highest grade of the puppet he refined was a fighting monarch. It wouldn't be of much help to him now or in the future. He would have to throw it away sooner or later. He didn't need to use the best monster core. Of course, even if he didn't use it in the future, he couldn't make do with it. After all, this thing could sometimes save people's lives. Of course, Xiao Yan couldn't joke around with his own life. I wonder if refining a Heaven Fey puppet with a Fighting Monarch level puppet is useful or not. Let's give it a try. With a light sigh, Xiao Yan flicked his left hand. The glazed monarch flame wrapped around the Fighting Monarch's body. After finishing this step, Xiao Yan closed his eyes. Refining the Fighting Monarch's body alone took several days. During this period of time, he could only cultivate in peace. Outside the cave, day and night alternated repeatedly. However, Xiao Yan did not take a step out of the cave from the beginning until the end. In front of him, in the midst of the colorful flames, a thin and withered corpse that was beyond recognition lay within. It was quietly burned by the flames. Unknowingly, 5 days had passed. When the 6th day arrived, the flames that had been refining the Fighting Monarch's body in the cave had yet to extinguish. However, the dried corpse within the flames had already shrunk by more than half. At a certain moment, Xiao Yan's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. 2 faint golden dragon flames streaked across his eyes like meteors. Xiao Yan relaxed his body and said with a smile, "I never thought that I would be able to reach the intermediate 6-star realm in these few days. Furthermore, I can vaguely sense the barrier of the late 6-star realm." After feeling the Origin Monarch Chi surging and flowing like river water in his body for a moment, Xiao Yan could not help but laugh. In less than 3 months, he had advanced from a 2-star dose sovereign to the intermediate stage of 6 stars. He was already very satisfied. Strength. Xiao Yan let out a light breath and looked outside the cave. Looking at the boundless forest, he clenched his fists tightly. "I will definitely return to the academy." At this moment, a lot of determination appeared on his angular and slightly thin face. The body has also been refined. Xiao Yan turned his head. Looking at the gradually extinguishing 7-colored flame, he beckoned with his hand. The flame turned into a stream of light and entered Xiao Yan's body. After that, the completed body also appeared. At this moment, the body was extremely pale. There was no trace of blood, only the head still retained its original appearance. Regarding this, Xiao Yan had long become accustomed to it. He clenched his right hand into a fist and quickly punched his chest and head. 2 fist-sized holes were created. Not a single drop of blood flowed out of the holes. Xiao Yan moved his hand. A faintly red monster core fell into the hole in front of his chest, and then Xiao Yan took out the white jade bottle. He removed the Origin Monarch Chi that sealed the mouth of the bottle. Just as he removed the Origin Monarch Chi, an extremely illusory soul floated out. Trying to escape? Xiao Yan, who had covered the entire cave with his soul energy, instantly discovered this soul. He let out a cold laugh, and a flame shot out from his hand. It turned into a fire net, and amidst the terrified screams of the soul, the fire net tightly wrapped around it. Xiao Yan waved his hand, and the fire net wrapped around his soul and fell into the hole on his head. After doing all of this, Xiao Yan used the alien flame to train for a few more days, until his originally small body once again returned to its robust appearance at the beginning. 6 days passed in the blink of an eye. When Xiao Yan opened his eyes again, his body, which was lying quietly on the ground, moved. Then, he slowly opened his golden eyes. After a pause, his body suddenly jumped. It stood firmly in front of Xiao Yan and didn't move at all. Xiao Yan looked at this puppet. Its appearance was similar to the original one. Its eyes were empty, and its strong body seemed to be filled with strength. It has the strength of a late 6-star expert. Not bad. This puppet can be considered a pretty good one. Xiao Yan touched the sturdy muscles of the puppet and left his soul mark on it. He smiled and said, "Your name is Btth." The puppet nodded with an indifferent expression. Its voice was shaky as it said, "Btth. Greetings, master." Xiao Yan nodded his head in satisfaction and kept the storage ring. Feeling the surging Origin Monarch Chi in his body, an excited expression emerged on his face. He said softly, "The matter of the puppet has been resolved. Now, I can try to break through to the late 6-star realm." Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan glanced at the hole that was blocked by the huge rock. After thinking for a moment, he moved the huge rock away. Feeling the flow of the Origin Monarch Chi become smoother, Xiao Yan flicked his finger. Btth stood firmly at the entrance of the cave. His emotionless eyes stared outside without blinking. After giving the order to carefully guard the cave, Xiao Yan sat down cross-legged. He slowly closed his eyes and his mind moved. He activated the Origin Monarch Chi in his body and circulated it rapidly in his meridians. At the same time, it was as if the Origin Monarch Chi in the cave had been summoned. It slowly surged toward Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's body was emitting a pink flame. Although the Origin Monarch Chi was much less after the pink flame, however, it was also much purer. The pores on Xiaoyan's skin were wide open as he greedily absorbed the pure Origin Monarch Chi. Under Xiaoyan's control, the Origin Monarch Chi that entered his body circulated through all the meridians in his body and into the Origin Monarch crystal in his dantian. The refined Origin Monarch Chi also circulated along his meridians, strengthening his bones and cells. This absorption process was a perfect cycle. Just as Xiaoyan felt that he was about to break through the barrier of late sixth star, he suddenly heard a furious roar from outside. In the next moment, Yi was violently sent flying into the cave, causing the rocks in the cave to fall. Roar! Another furious roar was heard. A huge white ape with 4 huge hands, which was filled with a bloodthirsty red color, walked towards the cave while roaring. Boom! Yi, who had been sent flying by the huge monkey's punch, stood up and stomped on the ground before charging toward the huge monkey. When the huge monkey saw this, a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. He raised his fist and punched at Yi, who was charging toward him. Yi's fist and the giant ape's fist collided fiercely. A loud sound rang out as Yi was blasted several meters away like a cannonball, smashing heavily onto the ground. The giant ape howled complacently as it pounded its chest with its 4 hands. Then, it looked towards the cave entrance, where dust and dirt were flying in the air. A young man in a black robe walked out. At this moment, Xiaoyan's eyes were filled with helplessness. Just now, just as he was about to break through to the late 6-star realm, the huge ape roared furiously, causing his mind to stir. All his previous efforts had been for naught. Xiaoyan looked at the huge ape. The latter's eyes were filled with fury. Xiaoyan smiled bitterly. He was really unlucky. The cave he found seemed to be this ape's nest. When it saw a human enter its cave, the giant ape's eyes turned red. It roared and rushed over aggressively. Xiaoyan sighed. This giant ape's strength should be around that of an early 8-star fighting monarch. With his intermediate 6-star strength, it would be very difficult for him to defeat it. Xiaoyan's body flashed and nimbly dodged the furious attack of the giant ape. When the giant ape saw this, it couldn't help but become even angrier. It breathed heavily and rushed towards Xiaoyan once more. Damn it! It's just an early 8-star devil beast. I really thought it was invincible. Xiaoyan was also furious. He waved his right hand, and a 10-colored fire lotus flew out quietly. It transformed into a gorgeous flame and rushed towards the giant ape. The giant ape roared and threw a punch at the fire lotus. The fire lotus instantly exploded, and a cloud of smoke rose up. After the fire lotus struck, Xiaoyan's body retreated. With a thought, a fire dragon about 70 feet long appeared on his right hand. Flame Dragon Charge! Xiaoyan roared in a low voice. The fire dragon rushed into the smoke like a meteor. Bang! A loud sound was heard from the smoke. Obviously, it had hit the giant ape's body. Xiaoyan was delighted. He had just summoned the Xiaoyi when the giant ape ran out of the smoke with a furious roar. The giant ape's blood-red eyes were fixed on Xiaoyan, who was not far away. Its chest heaved up and down violently. At this moment, the giant ape's snow-white and thick fur was charred black. One of its arms was the most seriously injured. All the white fur on its arm had been burnt. Fresh blood dripped from the wounds on its exposed muscles. Seeing that the attack had worked, luckily, this guy's defensive ability wasn't too abnormal. It could injure it. There's a possibility of beating it. After fusing with the 9 profound golden thunder, the power of his glazed monarch flame was countless times stronger than before. If it wasn't for the fact that he had become a true fighting monarch, he would have been devoured by the glazed monarch flame long ago. Not to mention, when he thought of this, the circulation speed of the Origin Monarch Chi in Xiaoyan's body increased a little, and the flame immediately became stronger. At this moment, the giant ape had already rushed over. It used both hands to protect its body, and clenched both of its hands into fists. It carried a huge force as it punched towards Xiaoyan. Although the giant ape had a huge body, its movement speed wasn't slow. In just a few breaths' time, it was already very close to Xiaoyan. Kai! Just as the big fist was about to land on Xiaoyan's body, a gorgeous firewall suddenly appeared in front of Xiaoyan. The powerful fist hit the wall of fire, causing it to tremble violently. Sensing that the force of the fist was being rapidly melted by the wall of fire, a trace of panic flashed across the giant ape's eyes. It roared and hurriedly took a few steps back, looking at the dissipating wall of fire in front of Xiaoyan with fear. Although Xiaoyan had succeeded in this punch, he was still forced back dozens of steps by the tremendous force. Feeling stifled in his chest, Xiaoyan forcefully suppressed the surging blood and qi in his body. He glanced at the giant ape. Xiaoyan directly threw a few qi recovery pills into his mouth. Then, he took out storage rings that he had not used for a long time from his storage ring. He tightly gripped the profound heavy rulers. Feeling a faint cold feeling from his hand, Xiaoyan let out a light sigh. The origin monarch qi in his body started circulating once again. When the giant ape saw this, it let out a low roar and pulled out a big tree that was thicker than Xiaoyan's waist. It waved its four hands quickly. A trace of ruthlessness flashed across Xiaoyan's eyes. When he saw the giant ape rushing towards him with the big tree in its hand, the profound heavy ruler in Xiaoyan's hand shook slightly and a raging flame instantly attached to it. When the huge tree smashed towards his head, Xiaoyan waved the profound heavy ruler and the huge tree in his hand, and struck them heavily. Sizzle, sizzle! The profound heavy ruler hit the big tree and cut off half of the big tree, but the backlash from the profound heavy ruler forced Xiaoyan to take a few steps back. The power of the devil beast is really strong. Seeing that the giant ape only shook its body for a moment, a cold light flashed in Xiaoyan's eyes. He took the initiative to rush forward, and suddenly flew into the sky when he was halfway there. The giant ape was startled. It looked at the huge tree that covered the sky above and saw no trace of Xiaoyan. It couldn't help but roar. All of a sudden, the giant ape instinctively stretched out its left fist and punched. Before the fist could reach him, a pitch-black ruler landed on the spot where the huge monkey had been injured. After the successful strike, Xiaoyan's shoulders trembled. He used the heavenly phoenix wings to barely dodge the giant ape's furious punch. However, his left shoulder was also hit by the fierce punch of the giant ape. Xiaoyan's facial expression changed instantly. When he landed on the ground, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. He felt that his left shoulder seemed to be unconscious. Xiaoyan smiled bitterly in his heart. The fighting monarch was divided into 9 stars, and after 9 stars, the qi would be condensed into Tao, and he would become a sovereign. Between the 9 stars of the fighting monarch, 1 to 3 stars would be the initial stage. From 4 to 6 stars would be the middle stage, and the later stage would be 7 to 9 stars. The battle between each star was relatively easy. However, it was somewhat difficult to cross the next stage of the battle. Only fighting monarchs that had advanced to the late stage were called true fighting monarchs in the Great Worlds. This was because a 7-star Do D was sufficient to easily defeat 2 or 3 6-star Do emperors. The giant ape in front of him had the strength of an 8-star combat emperor. Just a punch from the fist brushed against his shoulder, causing his shoulder to lose consciousness. The strength between him and this giant ape was indeed much weaker. This battle would probably be quite troublesome.